We are coming to you with breaking news right now. Former President Donald Trump has touched down in Miami. You're taking live pictures from Miami International Airport, where he is here to go to his arraignment tomorrow, set for 3 p.m. at the federal court in Miami. This is a historic time in the country. This is the first time that a former or a current president has faced federal criminal charges. So it's quite a big deal. Again, that arraignment scheduled for 3 p.m. tomorrow. We've already seen a lot of law enforcement out there. Some protests are expected outside of the courthouse for his arraignment. And after that, once he gets off the plane, Christy, Trump will be heading to Doral.
He will. And at that point, he'll be huddling, we understand, with his attorneys, talking about these 37 felony counts in which he is charged. If convicted, this could land this former president in jail for decades. We're talking conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and the willful retention of national defense secrets. These things involved spies, defense and weapons capabilities, as well as surveillance programs by the United States. Again, the federal prosecutors say these are absolutely critical documents that were stored in the ballroom at Mar-a-Lago, in a bathroom at Mar-a-Lago, as well as documents that were stored in his residence. And Mar-a-Lago, of course, a place where thousands of people go to and from every day, and these documents were available in the ballroom, right there in the bathroom as well.
And I think it's also really important to point out that those documents were scattered all over the estate. These are classified documents where people have to be authorized to get access to those documents. And we're seeing some people approach the plane right now. We're waiting for former President Trump to get out of the plane at any moment. But these were classified documents that were scattered all over the estate. They were not in a safe. They weren't stored securely. They were just out there, and we've seen some photos over the last few days of the dozens and dozens of boxes that were at the Mar-a-Lago estate. Our Glenna Milberg is outside of the courthouse. And Glenna, we have heard reports that the former president plans to plead not guilty. Is that still true? What are you hearing?
I'm hearing what you're hearing, and I think anybody who was listening to the former president over the weekend on the campaign trail knows full well that when he enters a plea at the arraignment tomorrow, it will be not guilty. The former president, used the terms over the weekend, horrible indictment, fake indictment. He is on full blast against all of the charges that have now been levied against him. A little bit from the courthouse here, downtown Miami. It is the center of the political and criminal justice universe at the moment. There is press here from literally all over the world, and already a de facto line starting for people who want to sit in the courtroom. Remember, in federal court, there are no cameras allowed, there are no microphones. Anybody who will be able to see what transpires firsthand will have to be sitting right there watching, as so many people want to watch. A little bit about this indictment. Anyone who has not had all their electronics turned off since Friday knows that this is a 37 of 38 count indictment. That last count is against a former aide to President Trump, Walt Nauta, who is accused of lying about helping the president get rid of documents that he didn't want anybody to find. The 37 counts that we've been talking about, that everybody in the nation has been talking about, are indeed historic because it is a criminal federal indictment against a sitting president. And the indictment itself, if you listen to legal experts, they call it a speaking indictment because it really does unspool a complete narrative. So much detail, so much evidence, including photographs, including transcripts of things that President Trump has said and that other people have said, that really, in the eyes of special counsel Jack Smith, really do paint a picture of a former president who took documents home that he wasn't supposed to take and then lied about having them and then obstructed those trying to reclaim them and return them to the National Archives, including, according to the indictment, his own attorney, which a man who will no doubt now likely be on the witness list. So all of that said, the arraignment that is scheduled to be held here at federal court tomorrow on the 13th floor may well be postponed, we're hearing now, because President Trump needs an attorney. He needs another attorney, a local attorney that he does not have yet. One of the things we hear that he'll be doing at his place in Doral in the next couple of hours is trying to find that attorney. No doubt he'll be here tomorrow because he will be turning himself in. He will be going through the process of surrender. He will get fingerprinted. And he may not, though, actually get to make that plea if the arraignment has to be postponed. Let's take a look at what's transpiring around here over the last couple of hours. Homeland Security, Secret Service, bomb-sniffing canines, making the already congested downtown streets around the Miami Federal Courthouse that much more challenging. All in place for the historic first appearance of the first U.S. president, former or otherwise, to face federal indictment on Tuesday.
This isn't somebody smuggling boxes out.
Former President Donald Trump on full blast campaigning this weekend.
As far as the joke of an indictment, it's a horrible thing.
Lashing out at the 37 charges against him, retaining classified documents detailing national defense, lying about them, conspiring to obstruct justice after the subpoena for him to return it all from his Mar-a-Lago home offices, bathroom, shower, and ballroom. President Trump's motorcade left Bedminster this morning, where he was spending the summer, headed back on his Trump-branded plane out of Newark to the southern district that encompasses his Mar-a-Lago home and the federal court system, where he is scheduled to be arraigned and eventually tried. The federal court system, where he is scheduled to be arraigned and eventually tried. The federal court system, where he is scheduled to be arraigned and eventually tried. The federal court.
We are having some technical difficulties here. Hopefully we can get back with Glenna and speak to her a little bit more. Again, we're right now watching former President Donald Trump's plane has landed. We've seen a number of people getting off that plane, making their ways to some of the motorcade. But as yet, as far as we can tell, we have not seen the former president getting into a car. We do know what is next is he'll be heading to Doral. As Glenna mentioned, top of his agenda, he needs to find a Florida attorney so that he can enter his plea in court tomorrow, someone who can stand with him there in the federal courthouse at 3 o'clock. Glenna, you're back again with us? Glenna?
It looks like we're having some trouble here, but I think while we wait for the former president to get out of the plane here, we should probably take you back and kind of give some background here because so much has transpired over the last several months. So you may remember in August of 2022, the FBI had executed a search warrant and had gone into Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate where they found dozens and dozens of boxes of of classified documents there. We're seeing somebody come out. So again, he should come out at any moment. We're expecting him. But again, we're going over this. And then on June 9th, just last week, Trump actually broke the news himself. He first said that he had been indicted. He announced this on his social platform, Truth Social, that he had been indicted in connection to an investigation of his handling of classified documents. But this was an investigation by the special counsel that had been going on for several months now. The FBI had conducted that search warrant in August. They did a thorough investigation and came forward with this indictment. That indictment was unsealed, so we got a better idea of what kind of documents these were that were revealed. And it's not just the fact that these classified documents were taken and that Trump didn't give them back, but it was also what was told after that. His lawyer under oath saying that Trump had given everything to the government back, that there was nothing left behind. And of course, the FBI later discovering that these documents were still at Mar-a-Lago, scattered all over the place, in the ballroom, in an office, in his bedroom. I think we do have Glenna Milburn.
Oh,
and we're seeing the president come out right now, waving as he makes his way down some stairs, and there's a car that is waiting for him, and he will head over to Doral after this.
And Glenn, as we're watching the president get off the plane here, make his way to the motorcade, tell us a little bit about what we can expect tomorrow. We don't expect to see the former president outside of the federal courthouse. Is that right? Isn't the indication that he'll go in the underground passageway that is there at the federal courthouse?
That is what all indications are, Christy, and security is above and beyond what everybody involved is citing as all the plans laid here, because really the arraignment tomorrow is just a formality that happens here every day for a lot of federal criminal defendants. So it's the security that really kicks this up to a level of kind of an atmosphere we don't see here every day. So there is underground entrances, and we do expect that President Trump will be brought through one of the underground entrances, so he won't be in the public. I can tell you, just compared to the state criminal indictment that he faced just a couple of months ago in New York, that kind of was a similar process. It was a state arraignment, not a federal arraignment, but the process went as usual there, but for different security concerns, and one of them was his entrance and his exit, which was much more public there. The courthouse here, just like in New York, all the other hearings are going to be postponed or rescheduled so that the courthouse is empty, but for the people who need to be here for President Trump's arraignment. Again, that is a security concern. A little bit of a difference here than in New York is that in New York, the state courthouse there in Lower Manhattan is just a building next to a park and open streets. Here in downtown Miami, it's a little bit different. If you know sort of the federal district here, there's a lot of streets that are already blocked and already cordoned off and not accessible to the public, simply because there are 3 different federal courthouses, the federal jail, and so there are streets that are just for the people who are working within the system. So probably a little bit easier for Miami Police and Homeland Security and Secret Service to do that kind of street blocking and security. And that's kind of what's in place now. Forget parking in downtown Miami. Anyone who needs to be around where the courthouses are, Lyft, Uber, or find a friend, because parking is just not available. And so tomorrow when he's brought here, we expect about 2 o'clock. We don't see, nobody sees him really for the length of time he's in the building. Inside, what happens is the formal process is typically he turns himself in. He surrenders in a formal process. He's fingerprinted. His mugshot is taken. We do not expect we will see that mugshot. That is not, federal mugshots aren't released anyway. The fingerprinting process, we understand, will be done digitally, so no mess for his fingers on ink. And then what might transpire after, if all systems are go, is that he will be brought into a courtroom on the 13th floor for his formal arraignment. He will face a judge. He will be asked if he wants the indictment read to him in open court. He will likely say no. That's not done very much, because typically federal defendants know exactly what's in their indictment, because either they read it or their attorneys tell him. And then he will be asked, how do you plead? As we've been talking about, as President Trump has already announced very loudly and very clearly and multiple times, he is going to plead not guilty. Again, the arraignment now may well be postponed if he does not retain a local attorney that can practice in Florida to be part of this. I have seen reporting that he's having trouble doing that, finding a local criminal defense attorney. I don't know that firsthand. I've seen some pretty reputable reporters state that, and so we'll see.
Glenna, can you touch on the dynamic? Because that's what I find very interesting about this. I mean, these are federal charges that are being brought by the DOJ and the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, who answers to President Biden. So this essentially means that we have the administration of the sitting Democratic president who is seeking re-election, who has announced that he is seeking a second term. His administration will be trying to convict his Republican frontrunner opponent for the 2024 presidential race. I mean, this is extraordinary. We've never seen anything like this in the history of the country.
Well, at face value, it's extraordinary and history-making that a former president or sitting president or any U.S. president has been federally indicted. So on face value, that is what it is. But certainly when you bring politics into it, and especially congressional Republicans and President Trump supporters have from the get-go brought politics into it, and they're claiming that it's part of a larger witch hunt. I'm sure you've heard that message. And they are claiming that just the narrative that you mentioned, that this is a Democratic administration trying to take out a someone who's the main candidate running against President Biden's re-election campaign. So there's a couple of reasons why there's a lot of context to that. Number one, if you watched, Merrick Garland is absolutely the Attorney General and the head of the Department of Justice. But the whole reason that he appointed what's called a special counsel, which is Jack Smith, is to either in reality or in perception take the politics out of it. Certainly he would have to sign off on this indictment, but I think what you saw with the special counsel was, at least in part, a message that, look, this is not Merrick Garland, this is not the Biden administration, this is an independent special counsel with from by all accounts, a sterling reputation and a non-political man who looked at evidence, arranged evidence, and decided whether or not the evidence rose to an indictment, and did not indict himself. Instead, rather, took it to a federal grand jury. So it is a Miami federal grand jury that is 12 jurors who do all kinds of things during their term. They're the ones who decided to make this indictment a go. And then I think also the political context of it is probably why you see this indictment, unlike so many others, so filled with the actual evidence that they're going to be bringing, and the photographs of where these documents were at Mar-a-Lago, and transcripts of different things that the president himself said and that his attorney said. And all of these things in this federal indictment, that's not common. A federal indictment could be a couple of pages, an affiant, and just kind of laid out, here's our probable cause. Instead, you see some, if you believe this evidence, some pretty damning evidence of why a grand jury did this indictment. So yes, there will always be politics where President Trump and President Biden and Democrats and Republicans are concerned, but I think what you also saw was a long way to get around that in the process.
All right, Glenna, thank you. We, of course, will be checking back with you the rest of this afternoon and tomorrow as well. We want to turn our attention now to exactly where the former president is heading, which is Trump National Doral. He should be arriving there fairly soon, as this motorcade is making good time, it appears. And that's where Local 10's Leanne Morahone is. And what's the situation where you are, Leanne? Are there protesters on both sides, or is it pretty quiet?
So there definitely are. I want to show you, though, what happened in the last couple of minutes. You can see those officers from City of Doral Police blocking the traffic on one end of 87th Avenue. You can see on the other end here towards 36th Street, there is another closure. So we were seeing a lot of cars coming down this street just a short time ago, and then within the last 5 minutes, that has come to an end. All as we prepare for the arrival of former President Trump here to Trump National Doral. And I want to show you, we have some of those demonstrators that we talked about, a couple of them on the other side, but most of them on this side of the street here to my right. We're trying not to get into the street too much. We're going to show you some more of them in our piece. And I would say within the last 30 minutes, we also saw some counter demonstrators, I would say, with signs and even costumes going against the former president. But by and large, here for the last few hours, you've had a steadily growing crowd of about a couple, maybe 3 dozen demonstrators here who want to show the president that, or the former president, I should say, that they still have, he rather still has their support.
Supporters of former President Donald Trump gathered near the entrance of Trump National Doral, where he's expected to meet with his legal team and spend the night ahead of Tuesday's hearing in federal court.
I just felt like I needed to be here.
We standing with him for everything.
We love him here in Florida. We love him in Miami.
We follow him anywhere. We know him.
Many supporters carried flags while others dressed the part. And even though not everyone we spoke to said they read through the 44-page indictment or looked at the photo and text evidence contained therein, they all believe his legal trouble is part of a larger plot to bring him down.
It doesn't go nowhere. It doesn't go nowhere. This is another hoax, another liar.
A lot of things they want to bring him down, but he's still standing.
Doral Police and Miami-Dade Police on hand for the motorcade's arrival. For some supporters, coming here was about something bigger than a federal indictment.
I don't want to regret not being part of saving the United States.
For others, it's about sending a message to the man they want to see as president again.
On that side, because that's where I'm going to say that we're expecting to see the vehicle.
Okay.
All right, so we are focused on the side of the street where we expect former President Trump's vehicle to make a left-hand turn and come down this road towards the entrance to Trump National Doral. As soon as that happens, we will bring you those live pictures.
Leanne, tell me a little bit about the security there. I mean, we see a number of people, but have you also seen a much more stepped-up security, certainly on the road there, but what about the actual resort?
We do see security personnel there on a golf cart towards the entrance. We are also seeing the police. They had been stationed at a nearby parking lot for the last few hours, and now they're getting into position, as you can see, for what they've been preparing for, and that is the arrival of former President Trump. As far as the folks here, things have been calm. Obviously, supporters of the president are fervent and they're excited to be here. Lots of hugs among them, lots of enthusiasm. But again, like we said, just in the last few minutes, we did start to see folks that are showing their discontent for former President Trump's arrival. One person was wearing a jail jumpsuit, but the vast majority of folks here are supporting the former president. And here you can see some police officers on motorcycles from the Doral Police Department are starting to roll in. You see one person here very excited, as that would indicate that Trump's arrival is imminent. And we are starting to see some Miami-Dade police officers as well, and some SUVs stand by.
Yeah, we're just going to stick with these pictures with you, Leanne, until we see the former president to drive by.
And we're seeing some people holding Trump signs, some people cheering as this SUV is slowing down. That may be the SUV that has former President Trump in it. We'll be watching closely.
There he is, I think.
Hard to tell with the tinted windows there. But if you're just joining us right now, former President Trump has landed in South Florida. He landed at Miami International Airport.
Yeah, that's him right there. That's him right there. He's
Yes.
giving a thumbs up. I don't know if you guys can see because he's got some pretty deeply tinted windows. But President Trump there making eye contact with some of his supporters that are standing there. He did wave. He did give a thumbs up. We obviously also see some armed members of Secret Service as well. No doubt a lot of security comes along when a former president goes anywhere, and that is still the case here as he makes his way inside of Trump National Doral. I want to see if I can speak here to a woman who was definitely waving, and I'm pretty sure President Trump saw her as she was waving. Ma'am, can we speak to you quickly? You're live with us on Local 10. I did see that you were waving, you were shouting, we heard you in the live shot as former President Trump made his way down the street. Were you able to see make eye contact? Yeah.
Well, I was his presidential inaugural parade ambassador for his inauguration.
Okay.
So I've met with him many times. He doesn't forget his early supporters. Mm-hmm. That's why he picked me, I think.
So you feel like he was, connecting with you?
There's Linda again.
So why was it important for you to come out
Well,
here?
to tell you the truth, I'm party unaffiliated. If it's being done to Biden, I would be standing here as well. I think there's two justice systems. I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. And, I just support people on their policies, and I liked his policies,
Okay, well, thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank
as
you
we
for
saw,
coming out.
no problem, thank you. So that's really been the case for a lot of people that we've spoken to here. They obviously feel that this has been unfair. This is a 44-page indictment with lots of evidence and photographs and firsthand accounts. But for many people, some of them said they had read the indictment. Others that I spoke to said they had not. But it's clear that they all agree that they are going to be on the side of President Trump as he fights this federal indictment and prepares to appear in court tomorrow. We should tell you that he is expected to add on some local lawyers and attorneys from right here in South Florida to his legal team. Those meetings expected to happen here at Trump National Doral. We're going to send it back to you as we can hopefully make our way a little bit down the street and do so safely. But ladies, I'll send that back to you.
Interesting to watch. Certainly a number of supporters out there, as well as others on the other side. We saw the president get off the plane. We saw him make his way to Trump National, to Doral. And tomorrow we will be watching as he makes his way to the federal courthouse in Miami. But for now, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with much more news in just a couple moments.